Welcome back to Henry's Garage. Today we're going to work on this water pump again, and we're going to do a couple of things. But first of all, there were concerns about how I've got this fitted, rightly and wrongly. I mean, even I'm concerned, so we know it's worrying. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply, well, I was going to say Tipex, but we're not going to apply Tipex. We're going to apply, where have I put it? Right, so we're not going to apply Tipex because I don't have any. What I have in the house is, and it's not mine, but we have nail polish. So we're going to take the housing off. We're going to put some nail polish on the nut. We're going to torque the housing back down. We're going to turn the engine over a few times. And then we're going to see if we've got any nail polish transferred from the nut onto the housing. And that will tell us if actually it's touching. So we're going to do that first and see what it looks like. Whilst we have the housing off, what we might actually try to do is compare the housing on the two engines. So the other engine is a 6 vane. This one's a 12 vane. The angles of those vanes are different, I think. So you'd expect the angle of the housing to be different as well, of the cone inside. I think, at least that makes sense to me. So I'm going to try to, and they look very, very similar, but that angle might be different. So I'm going to try to create a mould based on this one and see how it fits that one. So we'll take this off first, we will create the mould, we'll do the nail polish test, and then we will compare the mould to the other one. Okay, so here is our cardboard, make the mould. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, that will give me, I mean, if it's significantly different from that, we'll see it when we try the other one. So we know it should be fitting that. So the next thing we'll do is we'll get some nail polish onto the nut. Right, we are going to apply some nail polish. A brighter colour would have been nice, but this is what I was given. Well, I think we can see it is getting transferred across. So it's definitely not sitting in far enough. So I guess that was a useful test. And that now means I absolutely have to get this back out in order to try to work out why it's not going back in properly. Right, so here's the other, this is the 6 vane housing off. If you hold this up to it, let's see if I can get that in. Get my glasses on so I can see the camera. So I don't know if that's coming out, but there's a gap, okay, here. Right, so this is steeper than this one. Alright, and that's very clear. It's very clear to me anyway. So does it show up better that way around? Okay, so there's the one. And I can't. And there's the other. Anyway, it's really clear to me, and in fact, looking at it now, I can see the difference in. I mean, it's very obvious there's a difference in that angle, and in fact, how big this is. This is quite thin compared to this. Okay, so you can really see it. I don't know why I didn't see it before. So they are clearly different housings. So we won't worry about the 6 vane for now. We won't try to take it off or anything like that. But I'm going to have to get this out, and my previous tool wasn't working, so I'm going to have to make something to get that vane out. Okay, so here's the plan. This is a bit of tube left over from my leftover from the leftover, in fact, from my press. So we're going to cut this down to about this thickness, this width. We will then drill a hole in both ends. In the one end will go the left-handed thread, and from that we'll screw that into, bolt that into the water pump into the vane. So that will, we want to think about that thickness, width, right? My concern is if I'll have enough threads. So yeah, because I'm clearly going to lose a few there, so I won't use the washer, which is obviously taking up some of it. I wonder if my washer's too thick, because I didn't have a proper one. I just used an M8 washer. I wonder if that isn't helping. So, with a thinner washer, it probably didn't touch. Huh. Well, it's something to consider, actually. Something to consider. Anyway, so I'll do it without a washer. I'll cut that. I'll do it without a washer. Then the other end. Where's it gone? So at the other end, this will come through here. All right, and we'll use 2 bolts on it to lock it on, hopefully. All right, and that should then, like that, give us enough, I hope, to pull it out. So we'll start by cutting this down. I really don't want to take the water pump out again. So I tried changing the washer. I torqued down the nut. I took the top back on with the gaskets in place. I turned the engine over a few times. And oh wow, and that actually did make the difference. Right. Well, that now gives me something to think about. So, oh shoot. So if that had come out and it still was rubbing, then I would have no doubt that I've got to get it out and progress on from there. And I know that everyone's going to tell me I need to get it out and check that it's seated properly and all of that. And I know everyone's right, but I don't want to. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put the gasket maker on. I'm just going to put this back on. I'm going to do the other bits, and then I'm going to see how I feel about it. Right, so the next bit we're putting on is the transfer housing. I have been trying to test fit Imaging Flippy in here, but I just can't get it in. I can get it over the 1 dowel, but not over 2 because of the angle. So I'm going to have to put the engine down to do that. So we'll leave it to last. So this is going on here, which means we start with a bit of gasket maker. There's no gasket along here, so we're going to clean this bit off. Now before I talk this down, I am going to go and watch the video where I took it off, because 2 of these bolts were longer than the others. I want to make sure I put them on in the same place. Whether it makes a difference or not, I don't know, but I'd rather be safe. I thought I'd have another go at getting the cage out of here. So what I did is I took a washer and I shaved off the sides to make it a D shape. I then put that on to the handle, there you go, off my slide hammer, and I put the washer on and bolted it in place. Okay, so the slide hammer's working upside down. I then put this in here like this, and because of the shaved off bits, I can get it underneath like that. There we go, you see? And then I use the slide hammer to try to pull it out, to pull out the cage. So I'm going to switch off and have a quick go. And I have had a couple of goes at it now, and all that's actually happened is that the washer gets bent and eventually comes out. So the washer gives out before the cage is released. So I think the principle probably is right. I possibly need to weld 2 washers together or something. So I'm going to go away and think about that a bit more. But right now, I'm really stuck on this. I've just come back from doing some work on the white TR7's engine, installing the cylinders, the pistons and stuff. I didn't show it on camera, but with my dad we just tried putting the water pump in, reinstalling that without having the jack shaft or anything else in. And without the jack shaft or anything in, my dad was surprised at just how much of a thump it took to still get it down. So the plan was I was going to come back, I was going to remove the timing so that it wasn't trying to turn, so that the engine wasn't preventing it from, you could get a bit of motion on the jack shaft as well as on the water pump, rather than it all being forced onto the water pump. before I did that, I thought I'll just try it once more with this completely flat, so it's going in vertically, whereas in the past I've had it at a slight angle, and it went in well. And then I tried tightening this down, finger tight, and I can't get an even. So what I did is I tightened it down to torque it at the 27 Newton meters, and then I've loosened it off half a turn. Okay, and so I know, and then I've gone around with the feeler gauge, and I've continued loosening until each area of the feeler gauge is the same. Okay, because to be honest, if these were cleaner, I would be able to screw them down further. Because they're quite dirty, because I didn't get them completely clean, it's harder with the studs. So, and so I have a feeler gauge here of 0.4 mil, which just needs, to get it equal the whole way around, this is a bit tight here still. There we go. So the 0.4 mil is a good feel the whole way around now. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm looking for something in here somewhere. So I want it 0.25 to 0.5 mil greater than that. So I've got it at 0.4, so I want 0.65. Okay, which does seem a bit too much still. But I could probably tighten these down a bit further, you see. I mean, I know I could get it further down if I torqued it. Actually, let's try that. Let's see what the gap is if I torque it down to the 27. So these are all torqued down. Here I'm getting a 30 mil. Here I'm getting a 10 mil. Sorry, not 10, a 0.10. Well, actually I'm not even getting that. So I get the 10 in here, but I can't get it in over here. Yeah, the 0.1. And over here, yeah, maybe 0.1 actually. Let's just try 2. 0.15. 1.15. Okay. So this is 0.15 mil. So around the actual bolt, the bolts now, I've got that tightened down to 0.3 mil. So I reckon if I put on, I need to put on 0.3 plus between 0.25 and 0.5 mil. So if I go with something like 0.6, then that should be okay. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so we're going to start by making sure this is torqued up. So this is to 19, that's to 19 Newton meters. And this is 59. So this is 63, 64, so So this is the closest. So that goes on. So that goes on like that. So we're going to get gasket maker on. Okay, and this is set at 27 now. There we go. So hopefully that's good. But I think I'm much more happy with those measurements today. So I don't know if I was just getting so het up about it over the last couple of weeks, and walking away and coming back to it, you know, often helps. So we're going with that. Good. So I need to work out what I haven't, because I can't remember what I haven't done now. But certainly I think oil pump, that's fuel pump, it's oil pressure. Yeah, so here I need to get oil pump in. And good Lord, does that mean after that I can then look at putting on the carbs and the exhaust? I think it might. Which does mean I need to do things like find the bolt that goes in here, which is really disappointing that it's missing. I'm sure I had it earlier. Anyway, we'll work through that another day.